What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is Devon Johnson with the Showtime Forum post-game live stream show. And the Lakers have fallen tonight 104-102 to the Nets at home after a very successful weekend. First game out of an emotional 2 games. We come back and we let one slip. And to be honest, it was a game that most people consider to be a trap game, a game that most people consider could be a loss for the Lakers, and of course that prophecy came true. Many things to talk about tonight, some ups and downs. Great look for AD at the very end of the game with the potential not just to tie, but to win it. And the play was beautifully ran. He just missed the shot. And to be honest, one of the things I was thinking was, even if we won that game, we didn't really deserve it. The team really got outplayed from beginning to end, to be honest. Even when we had a good stretch in that first quarter and in the first half, towards the end of that first half, it was just showing that we just didn't have what we needed today to get it going. And so there are things we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about LeBron, we're going to talk about AD, talk about Avery Bradley, and talk about the bench, of course, and what was happening there. But one of the things that we want to point out tonight is that this is not a huge loss for us. The Lakers are still in a great position. We were really looking for this to be our 50th win. This would have been great for tonight if we would have hit the 50th win on a game winner. But one of the great things about Anthony Davis missing that is that he's never really been in a situation with this much on the line. So getting that practice, last second shot, knowing that the ball was, or the play was specifically ran for AD to go for the win, shows the mentality of the players, the confidence that the coaching staff has in the players, and the opportunity to get these things going and to give these things a try and not have the pressure of the finals or the playoffs yet. But if you could imagine just getting that practice of that shot, getting it normal in your mind, getting it normal in your heart, and then just being able to execute when it's time. One of the things that made Kobe so great was not so much his ability to hit the shots later on in his career, but it was all the misses that he had in the beginning. And so this is for AD is like a welcome moment. It was against the Nets. The game really didn't matter. But a loss is still a loss. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the things that we need to see change going forward. Not a lot of games left. Rockets coming in next. And, of course, they are a team that just won, but they've been hungry to find their identity. And we saw some things tonight that should be kind of a preview of what will be coming from the Houston Rockets. So first thing I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about LeBron James' free throw struggles. He was 1 of 5. I think that actually changed as I was typing that out. But it was 1 of 5. He had found a rhythm. He had found a posture, even though it felt very comatose at the free throw line. They were able to, you have 10 seconds at the free throw line essentially to shoot. And it felt like the last several games that LeBron James had been using almost all of those 10 seconds, getting himself together, focused, and then shooting. And LeBron has had free throw troubles. We've talked about this his entire career. He's changed his free throw motion, his rhythm, his routine multiple times, sometimes multiple times in a season, this notwithstanding this one. And so for him to go 1 of 5 is not too troubling, but what it does show is that what he thought he found is not necessarily transferring from game to game. It just seems like his free throw shooting begins to be streaky. But if you think about it, tonight the game was lost by 2 points, and he was at the line several times and only came away with 1 free throw. And to be honest, Anthony Davis was only at the line 5 times, or only shot 5 free throws and missed 1. But it's these small moments where you think to yourself, man, if they could have hit those shots, this really could have been a completely different game. And so we have to pay attention to LeBron James' free throw struggles. I don't think it's ever going to change. He's about 70% on the season. I'm sure that's going to drop after tonight. And he'll probably have another streak before the year is over. But when playoff time comes, we're really looking for that free throw shot to be consistent. And hopefully he'll find himself in a rhythm and a consistent routine that will keep him going. I also want to talk about Anthony Davis' second half comeback. Anthony Davis was absolutely amazing tonight, but only in the second half. That first half really was not a great half, and part of me was really worried about it because it felt like this was one of those games where he wasn't even going to break 20 points. But he finished with 26 points tonight. But what was more telling was he had 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and only 1 block. Generally, when he struggles on the offensive end, his defensive end picks up. But he didn't do that tonight. And we're not totally sure why he didn't do that tonight. And what can be said is this. After you get done with an emotional weekend that we had against the Bucks on Friday, and of course being able to do what we did to the Clippers on Sunday, I think this is something that's going to train Anthony Davis that these are the games you need to watch out for, you need to prepare for it differently. Brooklyn, who obviously just let go of their coach, and they came into this game, they're rejuvenated. Their senses are heightened. They've been in the news and the spotlight lately, and they've made, when you make a significant change like that, generally it bonds the team together, especially after the report said that the Nets had a players-only meeting after losing by such a large margin. And they came to an agreement that there need to be some changes, and this wasn't the culture of the team. And the next thing you see is the coach on his way out, and now you see this resurgence of play. And one of the biggest things that I want to point out about Anthony Davis was that he was able to make the bounce back. That's the most important part. You can have a bad half. The issue is, can you respond? And really, outside of this one shot, he really could have been the hero tonight. He could have went to being the biggest issue that we had, to being the biggest reason that we won. But of course, he lost. He didn't hit that shot, so we ended up losing. But 26 points is normally right around where he's going to be. His defense wasn't as great as we would like it to be. He was almost in foul trouble. Had 4 fouls tonight. And him and Kuzma had the highest foul total for the Lakers tonight. And you really don't want to see that, but here we are. And one of the other things I want to talk about is Avery Bradley. Is he the missing link? This is the question we want to ask ourselves. Avery Bradley, who's averaging over 11 points, just over 11 points for the month of March, and shooting over 40% from 3. Tonight, he was decent tonight. He had it going in the first half. Second half, not so much. He finished with 10 points. But it felt like for a moment there in that first half that he was getting ready to take flight, just like he did against the Clippers. And the question would be, what needs to happen to keep him consistently going? Because if he can continue to be an offensive threat, as well as being one of our top defenders on guards, he would really become that third piece that we're looking for in the consistency to back up LeBron and to back up AD. The only issue would be that this is once again starting lineup, and we're looking for someone to be more consistent in the secondary rotation. But today he played great. He played 31 minutes. He earned his minutes today, but he only had 10 points, but played terrific D. And you could tell that he had it in his mind that he really wants to keep what happened on Sunday. He wants to keep it going. He wants to make sure that people don't look at it as a fluke or as an aberration or this blip on the screen, but this is consistently what he's working towards. And so, hats off to Avery Bradley, man. I don't know if he's going to be exactly what we need in the playoffs, but my idea is that he's capable of doing it. And if he's capable of doing it, that means that teams have to respect it on some level. And his three-point shooting really has become much more of the story outside of his defense. Him being able to shoot, this is his second time hitting a streak where he was sitting above 35-40% from three-point land. And in the month of March, we've had some pretty tough games. We've talked about that, guys, before. And for him to be able to do that as consistently as he has in this month against tough teams lets me know that he could really be a piece that could get us over the hump in certain hard series that may come up in the playoffs, most likely the Western Conference Finals. So let's do this. Let's get on over to your guys' questions, and let's see what you guys got to talk about. Blake St. Clair, what just happened? I think Leslie Johnson answers it right below you from Periscope. Trap game after those great wins. All good, though. Yeah, and trap games happen. You would have loved to see the Lakers win this game, and they had the opportunity to do it. Once again, I said it before, even if they would have hit that shot, we would have won by 1. I don't think we would have deserved it. that score or that win wouldn't have been indicative of actually how we played. How we played really did not deserve it. We really picked it up too late. It just felt like once the Nets really started getting going, then we never really got it back going again. And one of the things to pay attention to with the Brooklyn Nets is that they are an ISO guard team. And what that basically means is they're not really looking for assists. They're looking to dump it to somebody, Spencer Dinwiddie or a Levert, or just any guard who can get it going. And they'll ISO and they'll dribble and they'll make tough shots or they'll shoot threes. This is very much what the Houston Rockets are going to be right now with the small ball lineup. The difference between Houston Rockets and, of course, the Nets is that the Nets have two dynamic bigs in DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen. The Rockets do not have that same intensity on the inside. And so a lot of this ISO guard play with the Nets worked out for them because they were able to dominate on the glass. This is one of those games where I really felt like Dwight Howard could have made a difference. Not so much because he would have been scoring a lot, but number one, he could have handled a lot of dirty work that Anthony Davis was going to have to handle tonight. And then also he'd be able to help battle against a lot of those offensive rebounds. In the first half, we actually got out-rebounded by the Nets. And when you have JaVale and you have Anthony Davis, lengthwise, you think that's enough. But really, the guts and the glory of our rebounding for our team really comes from Dwight Howard, who, of course, was out tonight. So I don't put too much stock into tonight. I think if we were fully healthy and going into it with a clean slate, I think it would have been a much different outcome. But we have to pay attention to how we play guards. So one of our weaknesses now, defensively, is that when you have a bunch of ISO guards, our defensive switching doesn't really work out as well. Because the defensive switches matter when you have a team that swings the ball a lot. But really what they had was a lot of pick and roll, but there really was no rolling. It really was just a pick so that the ISO guard could figure out a way to put up a shot. And you saw plenty of that tonight. Charles, Madera, California. Good to see you, my friend. James Michael, could not have asked for a better look. Yeah. And once again, you know, you're going to hit some of those you're not. He hit a three to tie up the game just earlier. I think it would have been poetic justice for him to hit the next three to win the game. But it didn't happen, but it was a tremendous look, and it was just actually a really well drawn up play to have LeBron drive to the middle to pull DeAndre Jordan away from the perimeter, which caused LeBron to kick it out to AD, and AD had an open look. James Michael, Lakers need to adjust rebounding when AD had 5. Too many offensive boards by Nets. Yeah, and remember, AD doesn't like playing the 5. AD is learning how to be more physical, but you really needed Dwight Howard, who really fills that role, to be able to do the dirty work against a DeAndre Jordan and a Jared Allen, who are tremendous rebounders and tremendous rollers to the basket on pick and roll. So, you know, that is one of the things that you're going to, you know, almost kind of give up on a night like tonight when you don't have Dwight Howard, is that. And asking AD to produce offensively and tough it out on the defensive end is a little bit much to ask from him. Only because it's never been his nature. It's something that he really needs to grow into to take that next step in his evolution as a superstar, especially wearing the Lakers brand. But hopefully this will be one of those games that he can go back, look at the tape, and see things that he can do better to help position himself, box out, and get a lot of these boards that tonight the Nets really killed us on. D Million, get J.R. Smith, cut Rondo. Rondo tonight was he was all right. He had 3 points. He was pretty much even on the plus minus. My issue, to be honest, tonight was really more Alex Caruso. There were plenty of looks tonight where it just felt like Alex Caruso just wasn't in rhythm. And he had 2 turnovers tonight, which is not normally his thing to turn the ball over. He wasn't as safe with the ball. It did look like at a certain point he did injure his thumb in the second half. I'm not sure if it was a sprain. He was going for a loose ball. I'm not sure if he hit the ball and jammed it or whatever. But tonight, like on a night like tonight, Rondo played 16 minutes. Caruso played 14. But Caruso was a minus 11, which is not what we're used to seeing. That's normally a Rondo stat, would be the double-digit minus in the plus-minus category. But tonight he went 1 of 4 from the field. He had the one shot he hit was the three-pointer that he hit out of the 2 that he took. And so you want to see more out of Alex Caruso offensively. We already know he's a tremendous defensive talent, one of the best defensive guards that we have. But what we really need him to do is to be able to produce, especially when you're going against fast-paced ISO guards that are looking to get out on the break, they're waiting. They'll leave Alex Caruso open just so they can let their bigs rebound and they can get out on the break on the leak. So that means that the only way to keep that leak from happening and keep those fast break points from happening on the Nets end is to make your shots. And tonight he wasn't really able to do that. But going back to your Rondo comment, he really didn't do much. He had 2 assists in the whole 9. Now, with that being said, J.R. Smith I don't think would have done much better. He would have scored more, which obviously you'd want to see, but he would not have been a facilitator. And that's what we're looking for, guys. I think that's what we're missing. I think it's more than just scoring. I think a lot of emphasis has been placed on the scoring, which obviously tonight it would have made a difference. We would have won the game. But really, the idea is the same thing with Lou Williams. If you've watched the video that's been kind of going around on Twitter that shows that LeBron they were pinpointing Lou Williams in the fourth quarter in the last 5 minutes. As much of a great offensive talent as he is, defensively he's such a liability. And so that's one of the reasons why Rondo really for me is an issue. It's not so much because of his offensive side, it's the defensive side. So J.R. Smith doesn't really handle that issue where you have somebody who can handle the ball and not be a defensive liability. If you had J.R. Smith, Rondo would still be the playmaker, cutting out your secondary playmaker or the person who handles the ball off the second unit and putting it on the J.R. Smith is like putting on 2 Kyle Kuzmas, except one just shoots more consistently. You still need someone who's going to be able to handle the ball. Lakers, I'm sorry about that. Al Sanchez, good to see you, my friend. I don't like Rondo and Kuzma on the floor at the same time defensively. Actually, Kuzma has been doing far better defensively, especially after the All-Star break. He had a couple of mishaps tonight, but overall, he is much better. In fact, his play tonight was great. He was still active on the rebounding side, had 5 rebounds, 14 points. Remember, what we're looking for Kuzma to be consistent in is a double-digit points, double-digit rebounds. If he can just do that, if he can live anywhere between 9 to 11 rebounds and 10 to 15 points, that is ideal for Kyle Kuzma. Rondo is a defensive liability. Tonight it showed more because they had so many active guards. They're not really a forward team like we are. We have plenty of great length and things like that. That's not where they shine in the Brooklyn Nets. In fact, to be honest, they kind of constructed this team knowing that this year they would be without KD. And so they just kind of filled in the holes. They had a 5'11" guard there tonight who killed us from the three-point line. So some of this was just a matter of matchup play that you wouldn't traditionally see. But it was what it was tonight. I do feel like Kyle Kuzma is better defensively. But there may be something to be said about Rondo and Kuzma being on the floor at the same time. I have to look at those defensive splits to see what that efficiency rating is. James Michael goes to show we may need Dion as both Rondo and AC are bad today. And once again, we want to just take our mind so much off of the scoring. But think about this. If you have a great scorer, but they're a defensive liability, it's a wash. If you're going to score 20 points, but you give up 22, it doesn't matter that you're a great scorer. And so Dion Waiters has been known to be a defender that can get streaky, that can become really, really intense. Of course, we remember him in Miami doing work against the Clippers almost single-handedly. And you're almost wondering if it just takes certain matchups for him to get up like that, or if he's that consistent of a defender. He's been known to be average as a defender and can have moments where he's really, really great. But that would be awesome if he's able to get it going, able to shoot, able to do that. That would be tremendous. I think Alex Caruso tonight just had a bad game in general. But if you look at his season overall, he has not had a lot of games like he had tonight. And once again, I'm not basing it off of how many points he scored. He only scored a 3. I'm basing it off of how efficient he made the unit run when he was in. And it was not very efficient tonight. It looked very clumsy. It looked very out of sync. And there wasn't a lot of synergy with the ball. So maybe that's just because it's a trap game. It's, they got up and going for the last 2 games, but they better have it together before the Rockets come to town. I think the 2 wins against the Clippers and Bucks took a lot of energy off the team. Laker Metropolis, good to see you. Yeah, it took a lot of energy emotionally, but I also think it's just, you don't really think about the Nets that really matter. The only thing the Lakers are really chasing right now are 2 things. Number 1, the best record in the league. With the Bucks struggling with Giannis out, this is the opportunity to kind of catch up some ground. And then 2, locking up that 1 seed. And so really, tonight, nothing was really in the balance tonight. Even if they would have won, they still would have been behind as the best record in the conference. Best record in the league. And even if they would have, even with the loss, they still have a great cushion in regards to the number 1 seed. Now, they can't rest on that. they really have to make sure that they go hard every game, and tonight they just didn't do it. Blake Sinclair, another game where the role players were pretty non-existent. The bench play has to improve, but it's nearly too late. LeBron and AD already had to pile up the minutes. They need rest before playoffs. This is a game, to be honest, I was really hoping LeBron wouldn't play and we would just lose anyway. In my brain, I was waiting to see if LeBron was going to start, and if he wasn't, I was going to chalk this up as a loss. In my head, it just wouldn't make sense to waste his energy or his minutes on it. But internally, I think there's conversation. I think the players wanted to play tonight, and you're right. This was one of those games where you wish you could have had them resting, playing 30 minutes or less. But we have to pay attention to what's happening with the Nets. A big change, like a coaching change that was player initiated, generally will bind the team together. First thing you see that's different from the Nets, what they had all year. The first time is DeAndre Jordan now comes into the starting lineup instead of being off the bench. That does a lot for your rotations. That does a lot for mentality. That does a lot for the team camaraderie. From my understanding, a lot of the reports were the team was wondering why DeAndre was coming off the bench in the first place, which prompted part of the prompt to have a players-only meeting. And so there's a lot of factors that went into the Brooklyn Nets playing as hard as they did tonight, but none of it's going to be sustainable. Let's just make it very clear. None of it's going to be sustainable. They're 12-20 away. This is one of those games they just happened to get. But I think it's just a perfect storm for them. It was a horrible storm for us. With coming off of those two very, very emotional games, and then them feeling very emotionally high off of the coaching change, getting the coach that they want for right now in the interim, and then getting excited because the season's almost over. Al Sanchez, we really missed Howard with Jordan at center. McGee was not good against him. No, McGee is not known as a center who can bang bodies. That's not really what his thing is. What he really is a lob threat. He's a block threat. He's not afraid to get dunked on, but he's not going to bang bodies with you. Dwight Howard is really a specimen of muscle, man. And he just waits to bang bodies with whoever comes in there. And he's able to battle well. And he also gives valuable fouls because he puts his body into people. And it makes him think twice about trying to box him out. So we did miss him tonight. It was a tremendous loss. And you wouldn't think about it like that because we don't really think about Dwight in that manner being such a difference in how we win games. But tonight was one of those nights. D Million, bro, no more excuses for Danny Green. He's been trash all season. Dude can keep going for 3 points a game. Yeah, listen, man, it's not about, he had 6 points tonight. He shot 2 of 5, 2 of 4. It was reported today. He had 4 assists. Now, that's what's crazy. 2 steals, 4 assists. So he contributed well. He did his thing tonight. I think what people are expecting of him is this 20, 30 point or 15, 20 point score, which he's not. He's just not. He's there for defensive reasons and to be a 3-point threat. And he shot 50% from 3 tonight. So it wasn't like he was horrible. He was one of our better 3-point shooters tonight, shooting 2 of 4. So he did his thing tonight as far as what you would ask him to do. It was also reported that there's apparently Jalen Rose reported today on Jalen and Jacoby that when he was at the game he could visibly see that Danny Green has a muscle strain or something that's happening with his core. Which I'm not making an excuse. I just didn't know that. But he said it's very clear that Danny Green is not 100%. Now, I haven't heard anything from the Laker camp about that, but Jalen said he saw that. But tonight, we did fine. He did his thing. I don't know if he was the difference maker. Avery Bradley had 10. Danny Green had 6. Kyle Kuzma had 14. I was more worried about Marcus Morris tonight, who had 15 minutes and scored 0 points. Looked very reminiscent of his twin brother. And then once again, Caldwell Pope, 1 of 4. So Danny actually ended up shooting better than KCP tonight when it came down to 3-point shooting. I don't know. It's just really hard to tell. This is one of those games where their heart just wasn't really in it. Blake Sinclair, it kind of feels like Kuzma and the other role players never have a good game at the same time. It's always the role players or just Kuzma pretty much need to get that balance. Yeah, and it's really scary if you could think about them clicking all at the same time. And that's what you're hoping for. When you have Avery Bradley, who's becoming more consistent, what it seems like is that the players like Kuzma and KCP, even Avery Bradley, they all are much more consistent in the starting unit, right? Part of that is LeBron. Part of that is AD. It opens up the floor for them. But when Kyle Kuzma starts, he does better. When KCP starts, he does better. But coming off the bench, they don't have that. Rondo is not the same kind of ball handler at all, not even in the same vicinity. as LeBron James. And so instantly it makes the second unit worse because these are guys who are really good at just really catching and shooting. KCP is great off of curl screens, great in the mid-range, and of course has been clutch for us in the corner three department. Kyle Kuzma has been horrible from three, but has found himself in the paint. Being able, like we saw a great footwork play tonight. He's being able to play off ball much better. He's rebounding much better, playing much better defense. So he's finding his mentality there, but you still need a ball handler who's able to facilitate that while LeBron is not in. And so that I don't think Deion Waiters is going to be that guy, to be honest. Deion Waiters is not a facilitator. Deion Waiters is a scorer. And so we're still kind of missing that, which means LeBron's going to be playing heavy minutes in the playoffs, period. There's really no way around it. There is no secondary use for that. Rondo's going to be on the team. He's not getting cut, but he's not going to be the ball handler that we need. Now, the other night he had 7 assists. Tonight he only had 2 assists, which is really weird because a team like tonight, you really should be abusing them with them being so guard heavy, but Rondo just made several passes that just didn't make sense tonight. And it seemed to stifle the defense or stifle the offense, which in turn makes the second unit look really, really bad. Los A walking W. This loss humbles us after 2 big wins against the Bucks and Clippers. I really don't know if the team. I did not get the feeling from the team that they were in a place where they needed to be humbled. I think they had a statement that they wanted to prove against those 2 teams. I think they have zero interest in proving anything to the Nets. But towards the second half, there was a lot of jogging towards the bench. Anthony Davis staring down the bench. Marcus Morris actually held the ball at one point. He was supposed to give it to the ref and was talking directly to the bench. So it seemed like some of that resurgence in the second half was because the Nets were kind of disrespecting the Lakers. And I've said this all season long. The Lakers only respond to disrespect for some reason. When they feel disrespected, they come out and they play with an intensity. It focuses them. But when they have zero interest in the other team, they don't really seem to care. In Memphis, there really was, when we lost that Memphis game, there really was nothing there for them. They didn't really care about that game. That's the unfortunate part. You really need this team to find other ways of motivation besides being disrespected by the other team, because not every team is going to be like that. And it's shown all season long that we only turn it on when we feel like the other team is acting crazy against us. But once the game is decided, you really don't see a lot from us that would insinuate that. But I will say this: I'm glad this loss happened now, so that going into the Rockets game, we could have a little bit more focus. I think that Rockets game, the last time we lost in Houston, I think this is another redemption game. I put this in the same category as Friday and Sunday. Obviously, the Rockets really don't matter like that. We probably won't even see them in the playoffs, but it still makes a difference to walk out of the season knowing that you didn't let the last word be said by the other team smacking you up out of their court. Blake Sinclair, with AD, his strength is also his weakness. He grew up a guard, so he has those fundamentals, but as a big, he doesn't have the same impact that he should down low, especially against lesser players. Yeah, and he's falling back into that place. Against the Clippers, him and LeBron were doing a whole bunch to attack the basket. LeBron still kind of did that tonight, but you saw several times tonight where they just kind of settled for the outside shot, for the three, settled for the outside jumper. AD needs to really get accustomed to banging bodies in the paint, if nothing else but to draw a foul. He's the best free throw shooter that we have on the team, and in fact, he's in the upper echelon. And when it comes to the NBA, shooting above 80%, almost 85% from the free throw line. And so he really needs to take advantage of the idea that he can get to the free throw line, but he has to be aggressive. He can't be afraid of banging bodies. And I'm really, really hoping that after we win the championship this year, that he goes back home and he utilizes this summertime to do the regimen that LeBron James did to prepare your body for contact. LeBron James, every time he goes to the hole, you can look at his body and he's going through a gauntlet of players. 2, 3, sometimes 4 players collapsing on him and grabbing on him, fouling him, whatever the case may be, and he still has the strength to get to the bucket, to get to the cup and make the basket. That's what AD needs to do, because AD is bigger and AD is longer and AD is more built to get to the rim and handle those bodies. He needs to get his mind prepared for that. Limo Dude 3, yeah, we lost, bro. Yeah, we lost. Laker Metropolis, LeBron decided to eat a senzu bean just to revitalize and play. I'm not even sure what a senzu bean is. Never heard of that. Somebody put in the chat what that is. Showtime Forum. Avery Bradley, I feel our sense of urgency wasn't there. We came out and we came on too late. Jonathan Watson. Yeah, we did. And once again, I think something clicked and turned it on. But this team is a team of, we are a collection of players that generally feel disrespected. From Avery Bradley to Dwight Howard to LeBron James to Anthony Davis, all of these players really have dealt with some sort of outside noise that has caused their game to be questioned on some level. AD can't win when it's just him. LeBron James, he's too old. Avery Bradley been moved to multiple teams. Can't he really ain't getting it done. Dwight Howard been cut by teams and almost kicked out the league. Waved out the league, man, and this is his last chance. And Boogie Cousins, even when he was here, like, it's just a collection of players that really are trying to redeem their value in the NBA. And so when you have players like that with that mentality, a lot of that redemption has to be turned on. That redemption motivation has to be flipped on, and that's generally when you remind the players with talking and with noise. So when other teams begin to talk to an Avery Bradley, like the way Patrick Beverly did, it flipped the switch for Avery Bradley. And for like one of the first times this season, Avery Bradley gets a technical because he's that locked in. That's the collection of players that you have. That it's unfortunate. They need a level of disrespect, even sometimes losing to the team, in order to get their mojo back. And by the time we finally decided to flip that switch, it was way too late. Whisper thing, just curious. How come Bergman is never on the shows anymore? Bergman has ascended to higher heights and is doing bigger things. I'm handling the dirty work at 12:30 at night here in Houston doing the post game. But he's often doing great things. But it's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Blake St. Clair, Green has no lift in his legs and has looked like he is ice skating up the floor all season. But most players are playing with injuries. He really hasn't found any rhythm at all this season. No. He had a couple of great games. I mean, he had a great game against the Clippers at one point. Had like 28 points or something like that. And then we all kind of remember the beginning of the season, him hitting that three, that clutch three. But we really haven't seen a lot out of him. But tonight, it was. I'm saying it's average for him, but obviously it's subpar when you think about a starter at the shooting guard position. Only shooting 5 times, 6 points, 4 assists. Like I said, for me, that's fine for me from out of Danny Green right now. I don't have a lot of expectations for him to do much more than that right now, if I'm being completely honest. What Jalen reported today on Jalen and Jacoby would bring a little bit more understanding as to why. I see the same thing that you're seeing there, Blake, that he's really not running, but he has shown some moments, like put back dunks, and he's done some things like, that makes you go, okay, well, if you're capable of doing that, why is it preventing you from doing that consistently? But for whatever reason, Blake St. Clair, hopefully he finds some fresh legs for the playoffs. I'm really hoping so, man, because we're going to need him. We're going to need some three-point shooting, and of course we're going to need him to be able to stick with guards without fouling. Chris Brook, AD needs to break the habit of selling for fadeaways and jumpers and get down low. Absolutely. And I know he trusts in it. But if you ever watch these workout videos where Phil Handy is working out with AD, they're trying to push him towards the cup, push him towards the paint. But for whatever reason, it's almost like, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to do something different. Maybe you've tried to, write with your left hand or whatever, trying to teach your body how to do something different. Generally, what you're looking for is not just to get the practice and the routine of it, but when you get into a pressure situation, do you revert back to your old habits, right? We saw this with Lonzo Ball's shot. They spent a couple of summers ago, they were spending time on his shot. And when he got into the games, once the game got quick and it was moving, he would revert back to his old shot. I think Anthony Davis is doing that. I think instead of him, relying on what Phil Handy and Penberthy and those guys are teaching him to get into the inside, he's just relying on what's worked for him, and it's that mid-range jumper. And sometimes it's on, sometimes it's just on. But other nights like tonight, it was not, and I don't know why that is. Okay, I saw a comment. Okay, I'm sorry. James Michael, again, we are seeing benefits of us beating bad teams early in the season. Yeah. This is what gives us the cushion, guys. And listen, this is what's so crazy, right? We have a few games left. We still haven't lost 15 games yet. This was only our 14th loss of the season. It baffles me when I think about that. Like on the other end, the Nets have lost 34. And we've only lost 14 games, man. And after the 6 years that we've had where we generally have 14 wins, To see that script flipped right now is just it's just crazy. I hate that we wasted a loss on the Nets tonight, but once again, you're right, James. That's the reason why that we beat the bad team so that we can have a cushion. Chris Brook, it's getting ridiculous how he can't produce when Braun sits because he wants to take jumpers. Yeah, it's not the way, and you want him to really take note from LeBron at 35, year 17. Driving to the cup with zero issues. I mean, he's just going. Trained his body for the contact. Enjoys it. Wants it. His attitude is adjusted for it. You want AD to have that. Blake Sinclair, I'm so sorry, man. Dude, you can't ask for a Spirit Bomb energy and not know what a Senzu Bean is. I apologize. I was thinking something completely different. I'm going to be honest, so please forgive me. I know it's Dragon Ball. I was not thinking that when you said it. I was thinking something totally different. I literally thought somebody had given him something to eat, and I was like trying to figure out who is Senzu a company? My bad, man. Donovan Bryant 8. More players for DG in the playoffs can mess with team scouting reports. I can see Vogel trying that. Yeah, I can see that too. And that's another thing to kind of point out. Traditionally, Danny Green has been used a certain way on teams, of course with the Raptors, and more notably with the Spurs. Vogel is a much different coach than Nurse and Popovich, in the sense that he doesn't really run a lot of offensive plays. He really kind of leaves that to the guards. So when he was in Indiana, Paul George, and then here with the Lakers, he kind of just lets LeBron kind of do it. They do run plays generally out of timeouts. I'm not saying that he's not an offensive-minded coach, but there really isn't like a lot of set things. It's more situational, right? So like tonight, it was, let's be situational. We know LeBron's going to draw the people in, and we know AD can shoot the three. Let's run a play where we can get AD the ball while LeBron drives. Not a huge, not a huge Einstein moment, but what you're really looking for is how do you use Danny Green consistently to where you can get him going and run plays for Danny Green in the midst of a regular game. They don't really do that. He doesn't do that for Kuzma. He just lets Kuzma kind of just ISO and do his thing. He kind of trusts the ball handlers to do that. And with a Danny Green player, he's a system player where the system dictates his shots. And tonight, it just wasn't that. In fact, most of his shots tonight were done out of duress. Laker Metropolis, Senzu beans are those green beans that Goku eats to revitalize for training. I'm sorry, guys. Blake Sinclair, muscle memory is tough to break. Absolutely. It really is, man. Once you get to a place where you've just learned it all your life, and this is not like a rookie. This is somebody who's been doing this all his life. And he still needs to make the adjustment. It's just we're going to have to give him more grace on it. But I do believe, listen, guys, I do believe we're going to be okay. I believe we're going to be fine. I think this next game is going to be our 50th win. I think it's going to be a tremendous win. I think it's going to be a statement win. It's going to let us feel better about this loss. It'll be our 50th win, 50th and 14th. So let's do this real quick before we get out of here. This actually was more of a shorter broadcast tonight, and I'm perfectly fine with it because it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm tired. Let's look at the schedule for the Lakers coming up. Now, we've obviously hit a very, very, we just passed a very, very important weekend. So I don't want to put the idea that we're coasting through the rest, but we are looking at some games that we can take seriously, we can utilize to tweak for some things, identify some strengths and some weaknesses going into the playoffs to fine-tune. Houston is going to be a game where we have to learn how to play against small ball lineups. How do you handle ISO guards without bigs? That's going to be our test. Denver is finding a little bit of their mojo again. How do you handle a Jamal Murray who can get off? We were able to do some work against them last time, but they're coming into our house. Utah's another team that's really weird. The going to Utah is really a 50-50 game to me. It's very possible we can lose that game. But if we do lose that game, there's no way we're losing back-to-back to them on the second night. Losing to them again on Wednesday when they come to Staples. Hornets, Pistons. This is where it gets. The end of March is going to be a test of just stamina, and you're probably going to see a lot of resting during these games. So Charlotte, Detroit, Toronto, Cleveland, Washington, Minnesota. These are all games we're going to be on the road. When they leave on Saturday, March the 21st, they don't get back till Monday, March 30th. Monday, March 30th is their last game on the road, and they come right back and play Indiana, who is a tough team. So that's going to be our last road trip of the year, our longest road trip of the year. And that's going to be the final tester. I think whatever happens in that, if we can do what we need to do, we can lock up number one seed and make sure that we are prepared to rest people for the playoffs. And that's going to be the biggest thing, man, is the playoffs. And the playoffs are right around the corner. As crazy as that sounds, we are getting ready for the playoffs. And let me tell you how unbalanced the Eastern Conference is from the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference already, 3 teams have locked up playoff berths. Milwaukee Bucks, Toronto Raptors, Boston Celtics have all wrapped up. If they lose every game from this point out, they're in the playoffs. And that's a scary thought when the first 3 teams. In the Western Conference, 1 team has secured their spot in the playoffs so far, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the Los Angeles Lakers. As of right now, the race is so tough in the West that there are teams right now who are in the 6th seed. Like the Rockets are in the 6th seed. But if they're not careful, they could really lose enough games to drop out of that 6th seed and drop out of the playoffs, right? Very unlikely, but it's still a possibility, right? Dallas and the Grizzlies, there are teams right now that are really still battling. And so even when we clinch our number 1 seed, we're not really sure who we're going to play in that first round. Most likely the Grizzlies, but if they play great, Dallas plays horrible, could very well be the Mavericks. We can end up seeing Luka. I don't think the Pelicans are going to make it in there. The Trailblazers are right behind the Grizzlies, back about 4 games. But I don't see anything out of them that would constitute them making it into the playoffs. So lots of things to think about. Lots of things to think about. Blake St. Clair, Lakers are onward and upward like Bergman. That's right. That's right. Sausage jeans. Blake St. Clair, I'd be fine with LeBron and AD alternating playing games against Pistons and Hornets. I'm under the impression of this, if I'm being honest. I would, in these games, we have to figure out when we are going to introduce Dion Waiters. And how we introduce Dion Waiters, to me, is going to be more about how many games does he get to play and how many minutes in those games to get him going, acclimated, and for us to make an evaluation. In order for us to make a really good evaluation, in my humble opinion, I think it'll be good to sit both AD and Bron a couple of games and just let these be second unit games. Let Kuzma get a start. Let Dwight and JaVale, or however you want to do it, let Morris get in there to fill in for AD, and just try to get the second unit some more runs so they can figure out each other. Try to get these rotations going. Try to see if Dion Waiters is going to be a valuable asset getting into the playoffs, because none of us really know. He's only played 3 games this year. So that's the way I look at some of these games. But I don't think we're going to be able to really truly see any of that until we lock up this number 1 seed. I think there's still a healthy desire for the best record in the league, number 1 for home court advantage going into the finals. But I think the biggest thing that they really want to do is secure the number 1 seed so that they can at least rest players, if nothing else. So we'll see. But the next game that's coming up is the Houston Rockets on Thursday. I'm really looking forward to that game. You guys know I can't stand the Rockets while I'm out here. Sausage jeans. I haven't heard that one in a while. Yeah, he did a whole post about it, Blake. Go to his Twitter page, to Greg's Twitter page. He has a tremendous thread on the whole sausage jeans thing. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast a little bit early tonight. I'm really excited about Thursday. I want you guys to tune in. Don't worry about the loss. It's not a big deal. It would have been a much bigger deal if we would have lost to the Bucks or the Clippers. We can lose to the Nets today. It doesn't really matter right now like that. But going forward, this team is going to have to lock down, tighten up, tune up, and prepare themselves for the greatest run in Laker history. And I believe they're going to do that this year. So, with that being said, always remember Mamba out, but not forgotten. I'll check you guys